Alright, so today I'm back with yet another chapter review, and today we will go over chapter 298, which is completely mind-blowing, as we will get to see the rankings and who will get to go to the U20 World Cup. And let me tell you that one of the names who didn't make it will leave you completely stunned, but I don't want to say anymore, so you will just have to sit back and watch to find out what happens. Anyway, please leave a like and a comment as well as join the Discord server. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into it. So to begin chapter 298, we start off with seeing Nagi, who looks completely insane as he has his death aura around himself. He looks intensely at Ryo and tells him that he doesn't need to pass to him anymore, telling Ryo that he won't pass to him either and that Nagi is capable of winning on his own. Ryo looks extremely confused as this is basically coming out of nowhere and he just says Nagi's name. He then gathers more of his sentences and asks Nagi to wait and tells him that if they don't score the next goal, then it's over for them. However, Nagi tells Ryo that he's wrong and that it's not over for them, but that it would only be over for Nagi himself. Telling Ryo that he just secured his survival with his last play, Ryo, a bit hesitant, says that Nagi is right. Nagi begins to walk away, but Ryo isn't going to let it end this easily, so he still tries to tell Nagi that he should at least combo together. Nagi, who continues to walk, tells Ryo that this approach that they have been doing isn't going to work anymore, saying that if Ryo is with him, then Nagi will end up relying too much on Ryo. This has made Nagi understand that this kind of soccer won't make them the world's best, telling Ryo that he's already able to play on his own and saying that he will follow in his footsteps and do the same. Ryo looks completely crushed and shocked as he doesn't even know what to say. However, Nagi tells him that for the first time ever, he's scared that Ryo isn't going to be there with him, which only makes Ryo look even more sad. After that, the game is back on, with FC Barca starting with the ball and Nagi running up on the field. Bachira passes the ball, while Ryo tries once more to get some sense into Nagi. However, Nagi isn't able to focus on Ryo's words as he tells himself to go and to change this fear of his into fire, which is exactly what he does as he jumps up high into the air and catches the ball in the air. Even Bachira on the side is in complete shock as he didn't know that Nagi could jump that high. Nagi gets the ball, and he's looking super locked in as he passes the ball over to Agi, who's firstly confused, but then gets a smirk on himself as he laughs and says that Nagi is finally beginning to play on his own as he passes Chigiri the ball. Chigiri, who's now on board with the attack, tells them to go for a swift attack and not to slow down and passes the ball over to Nagi, who looks at the incoming ball and thinks that Ryo will disappear and that maybe he won't be able to play soccer with Ryo anymore, saying that he didn't think that this future would come, but as he says that, he makes one of the craziest backtraps ever as he lets the ball roll over before he kicks it over him, even leaving the no-name FC Barca defender completely in shock. Nagi then continues his little conversation with himself as he says that he doesn't want it to end this way, as he still wants to play with Ryo, telling Ryo that he'll become strong and for Ryo to stay close to him. We then see Nagi trading passes with Agi, which makes Ryo feel really left behind as he just says Nagi's name. Anyway, Agi manages to hold off Hayate and gets the ball over to Nagi, who's beginning to look completely locked in. After that, Nagi pulls out his crazy tricks as he makes an awesome feint shot, which looks completely awesome as he tells Ryo that he'll become someone who can dream of becoming the best on their own. We then see Nagi's eyes beginning to look completely wild as they are burning. However, just then we begin seeing some shurikens on the ground, and just then the ninja Otoya appears as he comes in Nagi's way and asks him how many stages he will do. I'm guessing that he saw Nagi's goal against Isagi and is referring to that. Anyway, Nagi gets completely taken aback by Otoya's presence. Otoya tells him that he won't let Nagi get any closer and that they have countermeasures for his move. It gets dark around Nagi as he legit can't believe it. He thinks that they completely saw through him and wonders if he should shoot. However, he knows that there are 3 players in front of him. He looks at the incoming Otoya, which only makes him more nervous, before he sees one small spot in the goal and tells himself to come on. Hey, it's Natsu mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? However, just then, Ryo appears on Nagi's side and screams his name. Ryo has an immense aura around him, and as their eyes meet, Nagi says his name. Nagi sees Otoya coming extremely close and thinks about what he said about doing this alone. However, just then, his aura starts to disappear, and he instead changes his alone approach to doing it together with Ryo instead. Ryo looks at the incoming ball and is ready to give it his literal all to save Nagi's and his dream. However, Just then, you think that they will live happily ever after. However, Bachira then comes in front of the ball and steals it. He tells Nagi that this won't do. He has an intense fire in his eyes as he looks over to Nagi, telling him that if you can't die here and go on alone, then he's failed as an egoist. Now yes, I'm well aware that we see Bachira's offer down in the bottom. However, I will continue and finish the last play of this match before we go over the offers, because otherwise it will get super confusing. Anyway, Bachira gets the ball and starts sprinting with all that he can, and Ryo screams at the defenders to stop him, but when Bachira locks in, then there's truly no one who can stop him. He passes to one of his teammates, who passes it back to Bachira, who, as he sees the ball coming, jumps up and scores the final goal of the match, which means that FC Barca wins the match. Now as the match has finished, let's go over all the offers we missed and then get over to Isagi. Alright, we start with Bachira, who came in at 5th place with an offer of 120 million yen. We then got Chigiri in 6th place with a 90 million offer, followed by Ryo, who has a 78 million offer. After Ryo, we have Kunigami, who has a 66 million yen offer. After him, we have Otoya, who has gotten himself into the top 9 with a 63 million offer. And in the number 10 spot, we have Aiku with a 60 million offer. After them, we have Karasu, who's sitting on a 55 million offer. After him, we have the GOAT and the wildlife explorer Gagamaru with a 50 million offer. After Gagamaru, we have Aryu on a 45 million offer, followed by Yukimiya, who has a 42 million offer. We then get to the 15th place, where we find Nico on a 40 million offer, closely followed by Hiyori, who's got a 39 million offer. After Hiyori, we have Sendu on a 37 million offer. After him, we have Corona, who's sitting on a well-deserved 35 million offer. After Corona, we have Zantetsu, who's sitting at a well-deserved 33 million offer. Moving on, we get to the 20th spot, where we have Fukaku on a 28 million offer, followed by Reichi on a 27 million offer, and then Kiora on a 26 million offer, which I'm a bit sad that he didn't get the 23rd place, as it would have fit his character better. Anyway, this means that we have one character left, and we will see who that is alongside Isagi as we get back to the chapter, and Isagi is looking at the screen in shock as he sees the 23rd name appearing. However, it's not Nagi, but instead Nanas, who comes in at the 23rd spot with a 25 million offer, and we then see Nagi under him with a 24 million offer, which means that he won't qualify for the U20 Japan team. We see Nanas looking at the screen, and I hope he realizes that he shouldn't be there because that's a miracle if I've ever seen one. However, we also see Isagi, who looks completely lost as he says Nagi's name. He must really wonder what the hell has happened to him, as he was a beast when the two of them met each other. The ending text says, "A genius is surprisingly disqualified. Even the Demon King Isagi is shocked by the unexpected final ranking." Alright, let's talk about this chapter right away because what has just happened? At the beginning I was so hyped as Nagi had finally come to terms that he had to play alone and stop leeching off Ryo, and that got me so excited to see what was about to happen. But then, when his first obstacle came in his way, he just gave up, which was so underwhelming. He legit said that he wanted to play alone, as he relied too much on Ryo, but that was just straight lies, I guess, as just when Otoya came in front of him, he abandoned everything about it and wanted to go back to Ryo. In my personal opinion, I felt that it was really meh. Now I don't blame Ryo for any of it, as he just wanted to come and help Nagi even though he had rejected him, and who knows, maybe if Nagi would have taken that shot and not passed to Ryo, then maybe he would have gotten into the top 23 players. But with him passing, that just shows that the current Nagi isn't ready for what's to come, and I personally believe that it's a good thing that he didn't make the cut. Now with that said, I don't see him being gone forever, even if I would like it, because that would be such a cold move from the author to do and just drop one of the most loved characters like this. However, I do see him coming back in the future, but I personally can't see any way that he will manage to get himself into the U20 World Cup arc. So I think that he will instead use that time and train to then come back even more furious and stronger than he was before. If Nagi doesn't participate in the U20 World Cup arc, then this is the perfect opportunity for Ryo to go crazy. He doesn't have Nagi, which he has to rely on and try to help, but he can instead focus on becoming the best player that he can possibly be, because that's truly what he should try and focus on, as Ryo has so much untapped potential, and he could honestly be such a scary player if he learns to really focus on himself. Like for example in the last chapter, when we just got a glimpse of what Ryo would be able to do if he played for himself, and with his copy ability being so insanely broken, he can really be a striker contender if he doesn't like quit soccer or something like that now that Nagi won't be with him. Now don't get me wrong, I do understand Ryo fully. However, Nagi hasn't been treating him the best throughout this manga, and I feel like it's time for Rio to really realize that and work on himself. Now let's just give Bachira a quick appreciation because he went completely wild in this last play. He firstly stole the ball while looking super dope, but that was far from everything, as he then styled on legit everyone on the Munchen team before he scored his second goal of the match. Now the goal wasn't really anything special. However, it's a Bachira goal, and I'll always take those as they are dope. Now the last thing is that I really wish that we could get into Isagi's brain and really get to know what he's thinking about right now, as he must be so confused about what has happened to Nagi, his once fierce rival, now not even being in the top 23. Anyway, now I want to speculate what's going to happen in the next chapter, and personally, I feel like we will see a big Rio crash out. I do feel like Rio will take this a lot harder than Nagi will, and I really think that he will go crazy and maybe scream towards Ego. I also feel like Isagi will maybe ask Ego to explain why Nagi isn't in the top 23 players, and I basically just think that the whole chapter will be them all talking about Nagi and maybe Ego telling them what's next up. But please tell me in the comments what you think will happen in the next chapter. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.